It began with something so small, almost no one noticed. At exactly 2:17 a.m. UTC, every satellite orbiting Earth, military, civilian, private, stopped transmitting. Not gradually. Not like a system failure. Everything paused. For 3 full seconds, the entire network of satellites went silent. No signals. No data. No communication. Then, just as suddenly, everything came back. Engineers later described it as impossible. Because systems don't all fail at once like that. And they definitely don't recover perfectly. But in that moment, it was dismissed. A glitch. A rare synchronization error. Something to investigate later. Except later never came. Because within minutes, something far more serious happened. At observatories across the world, from the dry deserts of Chile to mountain peaks in Asia, astronomers began noticing anomalies in the sky. Unidentified objects detected. At first, it didn't sound alarming. Space is full of objects. Asteroids, debris, satellites. But these were different. They weren't moving. They had appeared suddenly, and then stopped. Completely still. One astronomer adjusted his telescope, zooming in further. "What the?" he whispered. The object wasn't natural. It had structure, symmetry, edges too sharp to be random. Confirming visual anomaly, he said quickly into his system. Object is stationary and massive. Across the globe, similar reports started coming in. Multiple objects detected. Coordinates don't match known satellites. Size estimates increasing. Within 30 minutes, global monitoring agencies were alerted. Within 1 hour, governments were involved. And within 2 hours, the truth could no longer be hidden. Because the objects were now visible to the naked eye. At first, they looked like stars. Bright points in the sky. But then, they grew. Not physically, but visibly. As the Earth rotated and the sky darkened in different regions, more and more people began noticing something strange. Why is that star not moving? Wait, that's not a star. It's too big. Then someone zoomed in with a phone camera, and everything changed. The image spread across social media in seconds. A massive object. Metallic. Perfectly shaped. Floating above Earth. Not alone. Hundreds of them. Panic didn't happen immediately. At first, people were confused, curious, even excited. Is this a secret project? New satellites? Some kind of test? But deep down, everyone felt it. This wasn't human. Within hours, emergency broadcasts replaced regular programming. Governments tried to stay calm. "We are aware of the situation," one official said. "There is no immediate threat." But the cameras told a different story. Military jets were scrambling. Radar systems overloaded. Command centers filled with chaos. Because no one understood what they were looking at. From the ground, the ships were terrifying. They weren't small. They weren't distant. They were enormous. Each one the size of a city. Dark metallic surfaces reflecting faint starlight. Edges glowing with soft, unnatural light. And they weren't moving. Just hovering. Watching. In cities around the world, people gathered outside. Not because they were told to. Because they had to see it. Families stood in silence. Crowds filled the streets. Phones pointed at the sky. No one spoke loudly. Because something about the moment felt wrong. Like the world had paused. Like everyone was waiting for something. Inside military bunkers, the situation was far worse. "We have no communication with them," an officer reported. "No signals at all. None. No radio. No transmission. Nothing. Are they scanning us?" "Yes." That word changed everything. "They're observing," the officer continued. "Mapping systems. Infrastructure. Movement patterns." "How detailed?" A pause. "Everything." That's when the realization hit. This wasn't random. This wasn't an accident. This was planned. "Do we have any defensive options?" a general asked. Missiles are ready, someone replied. But what? They haven't attacked. Silence filled the room. Because that made it worse. If they attacked, you fight back. But if they don't, you wait. And waiting is terrifying. Hours passed. Nothing changed. The ships stayed still. No movement. No signals. No attack. Just presence. And that silence began to break people. News channels speculated endlessly. Experts argued. Theories spread online. First contact. Invasion. Observation. Judgment. No one knew. Then, something changed. So small at first, almost unnoticeable. One of the ships moved. Just slightly. A shift. Then, another. And another. Across the sky, the massive structures began to reposition. Slowly. Deliberately. Not random movement. Formation. They're organizing, an analyst said quietly. For what? Someone asked. No one answered. Because everyone already knew. The silence wasn't peace. It was preparation. And then, for the first time since they arrived, the ships began to glow. A faint light building along their surfaces. Growing brighter. Stronger. On the ground, people stared up in fear. Because now, there was no doubt. This wasn't observation anymore. This was the beginning. And humanity had just realized something terrifying. They were never alone. And whatever had arrived hadn't come to talk. For hours, the world waited. The ships stayed in the sky, unmoving, silent, watching. Their faint glow spread across the clouds, turning night into something unnatural. Dim, cold, and tense. No one slept. Not in cities. Not in military bases. Not in command centers. Because everyone felt it. Something was about to happen. It began at 4:03 a.m. Without warning. Without sound. Every power grid on Earth shut down. Not flickering. Not failing one by one. Everything. At once. Cities went dark instantly. Streetlights died. Buildings lost power. Entire skylines disappeared into blackness. From space, Earth changed in a single moment. A glowing planet. To darkness. What just happened? Someone shouted in a control room. We lost the grid, an engineer yelled back. All of it. Backup systems. Offline. That's impossible. But it wasn't. Because it was happening everywhere. Airports froze mid-operation. Planes in the sky lost communication. Emergency systems tried to activate. And failed. Phones went dead. Internet collapsed. Military networks disconnected. The world wasn't just under attack. It was blind. Then, the sky lit up. Massive beams of light shot down from the alien ships. Perfectly straight. Perfectly controlled. They struck the ground with precision. Military bases. Radar stations. Communication hubs. Each beam hit its target. And stayed. Not exploding. Not destroying. Disabling. They're targeting infrastructure, a general shouted inside an underground bunker. Can we stop it? No response from defense systems. Launch countermeasures. We can't. Everything is offline. The realization spread quickly. This wasn't random destruction. This was strategy. The aliens weren't trying to wipe out humanity. They were removing its ability to fight. Across the globe, the same pattern repeated. Every system that mattered. Shut down. Power. Communication. Defense. All gone. Leaving only one thing behind. People. Confused. Scared. Unprepared. Then came the second phase. From the massive ships above, smaller crafts began to descend. Fast. Silent. Controlled. They moved through the atmosphere like they had done it 1,000 times before. Landing across the planet. Major cities. Strategic locations. Population centers. New York. London. Beijing. Delhi. Moscow. No place was ignored. Cameras captured everything. Even without internet, Recordings were being made, saved, stored, because people knew. This moment mattered. The ships landed. Massive, dark structures touching the ground for the first time. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, doors opened. Slowly, silently, and they stepped out. The aliens. Tall, covered in advanced armor. Faces hidden behind smooth, reflective surfaces. Not rushing. Not aggressive. Calm. Controlled. They're not attacking civilians, someone whispered in shock. It was true. People ran, screamed, fled in every direction. But the aliens didn't follow. They didn't chase, didn't fire, didn't react. They ignored them completely. Instead, they moved with purpose. Toward specific locations. Government buildings, energy stations, transport systems. Every movement, planned. They know exactly where to go, a military analyst said quietly. How? No one answered. Because the answer was worse than any explanation. They had already studied everything. Inside a hidden command bunker, leaders watched live feeds from multiple locations. They're not here to destroy us, one official said. Then what are they doing? Another asked. The answer came from the screen. They're taking control. And that's exactly what it looked like. No chaos. No unnecessary destruction. Just systematic takeover. In one city, a group of armed soldiers tried to resist. They opened fire. Bullets hit the alien armor. And did nothing. The aliens didn't even react. One of them raised its arm. A pulse of light. And every weapon stopped working. Guns went silent. Vehicles shut down. The soldiers stood there, helpless. The alien didn't fire again. Didn't attack. It simply turned. And walked away. That moment changed everything. Because it proved one thing. Humans couldn't fight back. Hours passed. City after city fell under control. Not destroyed. Controlled. No communication. No coordination. No resistance. It felt like the end. They've taken everything, someone said quietly in a bunker. Every major system, every city. Then why aren't they finishing it? Another asked. Silence followed. Because no one understood. From orbit, the alien ships remained in position. Watching. Waiting. And on the ground. The aliens completed their work. Final locations secured. Final systems locked. Then, everything went still again. Just like the beginning. No movement. No attacks. No noise. The invasion was complete. And yet, it didn't feel like victory. Because deep down, something felt wrong. Too smooth. Too perfect. Too easy. And far beneath the surface of the Earth. Hidden from satellites. Hidden from the invasion. Something had just come online. Quietly. Waiting. Because while the aliens believed they had taken control, they had no idea. They had just stepped into a system humanity had been preparing for years. On the surface, Earth had already lost. Cities were silent. Power was gone. Communication was dead. Alien forces stood in control of every major location. Watching. Waiting. And from orbit, their massive ships remained perfectly still, like guardians of a finished conquest. To them, it was over. No resistance. No counterattack. No sign that humanity could fight back. It was too easy. And that was the first mistake. Deep beneath the surface of the Earth. Far below cities, mountains, and oceans. Hidden in places no satellite could detect. Something was waking up. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. One system at a time. A low hum echoed through an underground facility buried miles beneath solid rock. Dim lights flickered. Then stabilized. A voice, calm and artificial, broke the silence. Emergency protocol, Aegis activated. Rows of dormant machines powered on. Screens lit up. Data began flowing again. Not connected to satellites. Not connected to the internet. Completely isolated. Untouchable. In another location, Somewhere deep under a frozen landscape, a group of people sat in total darkness. No windows, no outside signals. Only one small console in front of them. For hours, it had been silent. Then, a single green light appeared. One of them leaned forward slowly. It's time. Across the planet, similar facilities activated. Hidden bunkers, underground command centers, mobile units that had disappeared before the invasion even began. This wasn't panic. This was preparation. They've taken the surface, a commander said calmly inside one of the bunkers. Good. Someone looked at him, confused. Good? He repeated. The commander nodded. They think they've already won. And that was the second mistake. Because humans hadn't tried to stop the invasion. They had let it happen. Years before the attack, humanity had asked a question. What if we can't win in a direct fight? Because every simulation, every projection, showed the same result. If something more advanced came, stronger, faster, smarter, humanity would lose. So they didn't prepare for victory. They prepared for survival. Project Aegis was never meant to stop an invasion. It was designed for one purpose. Wait, watch, and then take everything back. They're using our systems, an analyst said, watching streams of intercepted data. How much access do they have? Almost total. Perfect. Because that was exactly what humans wanted. The aliens had shut down Earth's networks, taken control of infrastructure, connected their own systems to human technology, trying to dominate it, control it, use it. But in doing so, they had opened a door. And they didn't even realize it. They're rewriting system protocols, another technician said. Can we track it? Yes, and more than that. He paused. They're exposing their own architecture. The room went quiet. Because that meant one thing. The aliens weren't just controlling Earth. They were connecting to it. And that connection went both ways. Begin infiltration, the commander ordered. No explosions. No alarms. Just a signal. Small. Invisible. Slipping into the alien network. At first, nothing happened. Then, tiny changes. Unnoticeable. A delay in a system response. A slight miscalculation. A brief glitch in a display. Alien operators didn't react. Why would they? Everything still worked. But the signal spread. Slowly. Carefully. Learning. Adapting. They're not detecting it, the analyst said. Of course not, the commander replied. They're not looking for it. Because in their minds, there was nothing left to fight. On the surface, alien units continued their operations. Standing guard. Monitoring. Unaware that their systems were being mapped. Studied. Taken apart piece by piece. They rely on centralized control, one technician said. Meaning if we break the core. He didn't finish. He didn't need to, because everyone in that room understood. End the core, and everything falls. Locate command structure, the commander said. Seconds passed. Then, a map appeared on the screen. Alien ships, units, connections, all linked, all connected. There, the analyst pointed. One central control network. The heart of the invasion. And it was exposed. They handed it to us, someone whispered. The commander didn't smile. But his voice was calm. Prepare for shutdown. Above Earth, the alien fleet remained still. Confident. Certain. On the ground. Their forces stood in control. Unchallenged. Everything looked perfect. But beneath them, something was building. A counterattack unlike anything they expected. Not with weapons. Not with explosions. But with control. Because humans had learned something long ago. If you can't overpower your enemy, you outthink them. And the aliens had just made their final mistake. They didn't just invade Earth. They connected to it. The alien fleet stood victorious. From orbit, Earth looked silent. Dark. Controlled. Every major city was secured. Every system was under alien command. Every possible threat neutralized. There was no resistance, no retaliation, no sign that humanity could fight back. To the invaders, the war was over. Inside one of the largest alien command ships, high above Earth, the atmosphere was calm, controlled, efficient. Planetary takeover complete, one of the alien officers reported. Casualties minimal. Native species offered no meaningful resistance. A pause. Expected. Their leader stood near a massive viewing panel, looking down at Earth. A world that had fallen in hours. No great battle. No struggle. Just silence. They were not ready, another officer said. The leader didn't respond immediately. Something felt off. Too easy. But before the thought could fully form, something changed. At first, it was small. A flicker. One of the control panels dimmed for a fraction of a second, then returned to normal. An officer glanced at it. Minor fluctuation, he said. No concern. Then another. A delay in system response. Command input lag detected. Cause unknown. The leader turned slightly. Investigate. But before they could, the lights dimmed again. Longer this time. Across the ship, systems began to respond slower. Not failing, but hesitating. What's happening? Someone asked. No external interference detected. Then fix it. We're trying. Then, everything stopped. For one single moment, the entire ship went silent. No sound, no movement, no response. Then, chaos. All systems offline. Power failure across multiple sectors. Control links lost. The leader stepped forward. Restore it. Now. We can't. And it wasn't just their ship. Across orbit, every alien vessel experienced the same thing. Lights flickered. Engines shut down. Weapons went offline. Then, complete shutdown. Thousands of ships. Frozen in space. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Disabled. What is this? The leader demanded. No one had an answer. Because the attack wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from within. On Earth, the same thing was happening. Alien units on the ground stopped moving. Mid-step. Mid-action. Their armor dimmed. Weapons powered down. They stood still. Like statues. People watched in shock. Confused. What's happening to them? No one understood. Until the truth surfaced. Deep underground. In the hidden command centers. Humans were watching. Connection confirmed, an analyst said. Control access. A pause. Then, complete. The room went silent. Because it worked. After years of preparation. After waiting. After letting the invasion happen. They had done it. Execute full shutdown, the commander said. And with one command, the entire alien network collapsed. Ships, weapons, armor, systems, all under human control. They're locked out, a technician confirmed. They can't regain access. Above Earth, the alien leader stared at the dead control panel in front of him. Nothing responded. Nothing worked. How? He whispered. Because this wasn't possible. They had superior technology. Superior systems. They had already won. But they had made one mistake. They had connected their systems to Earth. And in doing so, they had given humanity exactly what it needed. Access. The hunters had become the trapped. Begin containment, the commander ordered. Human forces, hidden until now, began to move. Not in panic. Not in desperation. With precision. Alien ships remained frozen in orbit. Unable to move. Unable to fight. On the ground. Alien units were surrounded. Captured. No resistance. No war. Just control. Hours later, the world slowly came back to life. Power returned. Systems rebooted. Communication restored. People stepped outside again. Looking up at the sky. The ships were still there. But now, they were silent, lifeless, no longer invaders, just reminders. Days later, humanity sent a signal. Not to the ships, not to the invaders, but beyond, into deep space. A message. Simple. Clear. This planet is not yours. A pause. Then the final line. Next time, you won't get this far. Because aliens tried to conquer Earth. And they didn't survive.